for the Democratic Party, there are a lot of young voters that they desperately need to win, especially in 3 key states that do care about us significantly enough that they're refusing to vote, especially in Michigan. Let's get started. War criminal Benjamin Netanyahu spoke to the United States Congress yesterday and basically disrespected the entire nation. He just put his nutsack. He put his nutsack on the Constitution. Okay, that's all he did. It's so that cis men can get hormones when trans people can't. Yeah, I agree. All right, let's see what happened. And obviously people are chirping about like not Benjamin Netanyahu putting his nutsack on the Constitution and basically dog walking the entirety of Congress, damn near the entirety of Congress. But also people are worried about the protests against billions of unlimited dollars going to Israel, which is currently engaging in a genocide, which is crazy. Think about that. Like people are more mad that American citizens are burning the American flag, which is constitutionally protected, okay, as the founders intended, and not mad about a foreign leader coming to the country and being like, yeah, you got to deal with these rabble rousers in your nation. You got to arrest them because, you know, they're hurting my feelings. Like, it's insane. What? Late fitness? When can someone start taking creatine? My stepson is 13. I don't know. 13 is like too young. What the fuck? It's probably too young for everything. The hell? Creatine is the best though. It is awesome. And I highly recommend it after 18 at least. Like it's great. Very little downsides. Like I don't think are 13-year-olds doing like weightlifting? That's crazy. Like actual serious training. I guess they are nowadays. When should you take it during the day? It doesn't matter. The myth of non-weight training young is 100% baseless, by the way. Is it? I don't know. I'm old. 13 is perfectly fine. Hashtag Project LeBron.
Begin this hour with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's controversial visit to Washington. Today, he will meet separately with President Biden and Vice President Harris after a defiant and forceful speech to Congress yesterday. He promised total victory over Hamas and slammed protesters as, quote, useful idiots of Iran. Outside the Capitol, demonstrators upset about the visit and the war in Gaza clashed with police. Scott McFarland was inside the House chamber. Scott, good morning. A lot going on.
And Nate, good morning to you. Netanyahu's fiery speech to a rare joint meeting of Congress lauded the U.S. for its support of Israel, but tried to argue for more support for the war against Hamas. It happened as protests gathered in Tel Aviv, here in Washington, and even inside the House chamber, where dozens of Democrats boycotted the address.
The hands of the Jewish state will never be shackled. Israel will always defend itself.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu defended his months-long unrelenting war against Hamas.
We're not only protecting ourselves, we're protecting you.
And argued it's in America's shared interest, saying the October 7th attack on Israel was a first strike by enemies who have their sights set on the U.S.
Our enemies are your enemies. Our fight is your fight, and our victory will be your victory.
But with no ceasefire deal to bring hostages home and the Palestinian death toll nearing 40,000 people, including many civilians, the prime minister faced fierce criticism. Michigan Democrat Rashida Tlaib held a sign which read "War Criminal," and dozens of lawmakers boycotted the address altogether.
Well, I think it's important not to legitimize a leader who has attacked democracy, who has contributed to so much pain and so much discord.
Outside the Capitol, a crowd of thousands of war protesters gathered.
How can a war criminal just walk into U.S. Congress? I mean, most of U.S. Congress is comprised of war criminals. That's what the American government does as well. I think the most like shitty aspect of it is that this is not like, this is a foreign nation. This is a foreign national who is from a foreign country that is entirely reliant on the United States of America and the Western world to like exist, really. And he's like coming to the American Congress to chirp about American citizens to American politicians. And I don't understand how people do not have this like genuine resentment and anger to the arrogance and entitlement demonstrated by Israel on a daily basis. Like, especially this act. Bro, getting butthurt is crazy. No, it's just like it just shocks me that like we are using American tax dollars to fund and facilitate Israel's genocide. Okay? We are using American tax dollars to fund and facilitate Israel's genocide instead of like, you know, fixing our roads, fixing our healthcare, like actually having healthcare, adequate healthcare, like housing homeless people, you know, making education free. Like all of this stuff, all of these dollars could be better served, and we're giving it so that Israel could keep killing children, right? And that's like gross enough as it is. But then we're also using tax dollars, cops, to arrest the people protesting that shit, okay? Arresting people protesting this like ridiculous situation. Americans that are actually demonstrating and using their First Amendment rights that's constitutionally protected. And the dumbass cucked right-wingers are complaining about flag burning more than they're complaining about this foreign leader being like, arrest these who are talking shit about my country. It's the best country ever. Okay? I know the Lancet estimates. The Lancet estimates conservatively say the 186,000 number over the course of many years. Okay? It's not right now. A lot of you misunderstood the Lancet estimation, and you just keep repeating it over and over again, and then turn around and yell at me when I say 40,000. Okay? Is it fair to be angry at both actions? Why? Why would you be angry at one action over the other? Because if your goal here is to be like America first, then you should recognize that burning the American flag is a constitutionally protected act in the United States of America that has been defended successfully in the Supreme Court. Okay? That's an act of protest. An act of protest that says, this shit, why are we giving our tax dollars? It is, in my opinion, a patriotic act. People that don't care about America, that are American citizens themselves, don't want to change the trajectory of the United States of America. These are people who do care about America, okay? These are people who are saying, enough is enough, not in our name, not with our tax dollars. I'm sick and tired of it. Why are you dodging addressing the Evie Chris Tyson situation? You addressed Cody Co's situation 1 week ago at the height of the Trump shooting. One, I did address it. And two, is there like a new YouTube video that came out or something? Is that what it is? Is that what's going on? Like, I suspect that it's like there's a new YouTube video or like someone else that is like agitating or something. Because I did address it. It's gross. It's weird and gross. Like I said yesterday. Anyway, let's get back to this. The notion that people who are America first, okay? The notion that like these supposedly America first assholes are more mad about like Americans protesting the American government's misuse of tax dollars to participate actively in a genocidal foreign nation's actions instead of like, you know, fixing a litany of problems that Americans are facing is perfectly valid. Okay. And that includes like defiling a replica of a bell. Like, who gives a shit? You know what I mean? Like, this is so silly. Getting mad about this is the dumbest thing you can do. And it's the only thing you can do, as a matter of fact, because you can't get mad about Benjamin Netanyahu basically flexing his nutsack on the American Congress yesterday, getting a standing ovation. Okay? It's just so hollow. Crying about a replica being tagged as peak disrespect to Elon's daughter's posting now. The one Elon claims is dead. Yeah, I saw that. We're going to cover that. I need to sound this out. There you go. Yo, Hasan, define hypocrisy. I don't know. Hypocrisy is what I care about more than anything else. No values, no moral foundation, no fundamentals whatsoever. Just like the mere appearance of hypocrisy. Yeah, I saw the Jeff Stein tweet. It's actually a banger. I have that. Yeah, Kamala Harris is, all right. You've been privileged enough to have a big platform and earn lots of money from your internet audience. You are obligated to state your standpoint and speak truth to power about how Central New Jersey doesn't exist. It's true, it doesn't. There's only North Jersey and South Jersey. That's it. There, I said it. I said the truth, and I'm not afraid to say it, and I'm not afraid to say it again, and I'm not afraid to repeat it. You feel me? I'll do that shit, dude. Can't stop me. I'm glad you finally stopped avoiding this issue. Oh, Central Jersey? Yeah. Anyway. That's it. All right, let's go. Let's get started. So yeah, Benjamin Netanyahu addressed Congress. He basically lied the entire time. And the media kind of talked about it. Like the media kind of addressed like some of the worst aspects of his lies, including, but not limited to, the restriction on aid, like the actual restrictions that Israel has placed on humanitarian aid, which is a telltale sign, like a clear-cut definitional war crime, straight up, like no ands, ifs, or buts. And he just basically lied about that, despite the fact that every single on the ground charity, on the ground humanitarian aid worker, every NGO that works in Gaza, every international organ of justice that has looked into the matter has openly stated that Israel is deliberately refusing to bring in as much aid as possible. And yet they just keep lying about it. And I guess like the media considers that to be a bridge too far in terms of like some of the lies that Benjamin Netanyahu presented to Congress. But I just can't get over how unimaginably gross this entire situation was. I don't know. I felt like I was taking crazy pills watching this shit yesterday. It felt manic, like a serious vibe shift. Okay. It felt very weird, but it doesn't seem like Americans care about it all that much, because Republicans immediately shifted their attention to the protesters that were like, hey, our tax dollars are going to Israel and we don't f with that. And also protesters that are burning the American flag, you know? And to me, I think that that's really strange. It is the most American thing you can do. It is constitutionally protected. It's free speech. I don't give a shit. Stop crying. You know what I mean? But having said that, here was John Kirby talking about Netanyahu's remarks and immediately running defense for him. And then I'll get to Kamala as well. Kamala made a really bad, really stupid statement as well.
Did the U.S. find any of Netanyahu's remarks yesterday to be false or misleading?
I'm not going to parse everything he said.
I mean, he's wearing an IDF dog tag. He's a piece of shit. I mean, he's a monster. He's literally wearing an IDF dog tag.
Or, do a fact check here from this podium. He should speak for himself about what his views are.
He should, but he had a powerful stage, a joint address before Congress. Do you agree with assertions that Iran financially backs some of the protesters, that if there are Palestinians in Gaza who aren't getting enough food, it's not because Israel is blocking it, as two examples?
So on the first example, we've said ourselves, the Director of National Intelligence came out publicly and said that we do know that Iran has been funding and encouraging some of the protest activity here in the United States. Some of it. We do not believe that all the protest activity out there on a daily basis is being fully funded by Iran. There's a lot of organic.
Also, some of it is. So some of the protesters, like American citizens, okay, like myself, like you guys in this chat, many of you that attend protests on a regular basis, we are not just American citizens and taxpayers who are genuinely angry and upset that it is truly unconscionable that our tax dollars are going to manufacture weapons that Israel uses on Palestinian children, okay? It can't be that. We're actually getting paid. Some of us are actually getting paid by Iran. This is the first step of a Red Scare. Blame a foreign adversary abroad so they can justify denying us our rights. Yeah, this is completely unacceptable garbage, okay? They did this during the civil rights movement. They claimed that, they did this during Red Scare. They did this during the civil rights movement. Every like black liberation group was technically communist. Some of them literally were communist, but they would just basically say like they're being funded by the USSR. The American administration throughout history, they did this for the Vietnam protests as well. American administrations throughout history have always fought back and done some of the most unimaginably cruel and restrictive bullshit whenever people that we now take for granted that we actually hail as heroes go out and protest against injustice. Okay? This isn't new at all. It's just shitty and scary. And I don't know. I just thought that we would have moved past this at this point, but of course not. What about Russia influencing the election funding bots on social media to spread false info? Brother, I think that is pretty hilarious when we're talking about election interference. While the point of contention here is Israel and people yelling about Israel, if there's one country that actually literally rubs their cock on every seat in every hall of Congress, it is Israel. Get the out of here talking about Russia. I mean, Russia, obviously, but like their manipulation of the American election is so marginal in comparison to the open multi-billion-dollar lobbying that occurs for the state of Israel. I don't know what you mean by this. Like this Russiagate shit is so it's nothing in comparison to what Israel does in the United States of America. Like Tucker Carlson talked to Vladimir Putin, if you remember, and Vladimir Putin the entire time was like, "Why can't we be like Israel? Why can't we be your Israel?" Russia wishes that they could be America's Israel. You know what I mean?
Organic concern out there in the American people about what's going on in the Middle East, and most of these protests are formed and fashioned in that regard. On the second question, there has been a steady increase of humanitarian assistance getting into Gaza. The problem isn't getting it to Gaza right now. The problem is getting it around Gaza.
Yeah. No, definitely. Everyone else that has said that like the United States of America, or not the United States of America, sorry, Israel is actually limiting the aid that's going into Gaza. They're wrong. All of them are wrong. It's actually here. I'm just gonna basically repeat what Israel said to you back, because are you the spokesman for Israel, or are you the American spokesman for the State Department? What is happening here? You literally are just simply, your position has become being a spokesman for Israel at this point. You are just repeating what they say.
And one of the reasons why it's so dang difficult to move things around inside Gaza is because there's a war going on and bombs are dropping.
Yeah. No, definitely. It's crazy. Who's dropping the bombs? Oh, that's right. It's the country that is sieging its own open-air prison that is also refusing to render adequate aid. And it's crazy to say this because you're wearing a IDF dog tag, you donkey, you piece of shit, soulless monster, you. I hate John Kirby with all of my heart. He is my least favorite admin figure. And if there was any God, if there was any karmic justice, he would experience a fraction of the pain that he has advocated for the rest of his life, okay? No, I hate him more than Matt Miller. He is the worst of the worst. He is literally the absolute worst. Like, look at him. He's literally wearing it on his neck, dude. Like, I don't know what to say. Like, there is no better representation of being cucked than openly wearing the dog tag of a foreign nation around your neck. What are we doing here? What is actually happening here? What the f is going on?
And regrettably, in the conduct of some of their recent operations, the Israeli military has.
The IDF dog tag is supposed to signal what exactly? It's supposed to signal to the rest of the world, to anyone that's paying attention, is that he's got one mode, okay? That's it. That's his loyalty. His loyalty is with Israel. That's what he cares about more than anything else. People say like dual loyalty tropes. This motherfucker doesn't have dual loyalty. He has single loyalty, okay? And let me tell you, it's not to the United States of America. Like, what are we doing? This is so insane. Imagine if China had this much influence over Congress, like these hogs and Republicans should have go to war. Anyway, speaking of which,
has in fact,
let's finish this and then
I'm
going to move on.
We have no reason to believe they did this deliberately, but there has been accidental strikes on some of the trucks and the convoys that have been moving around. So there's
some oopsies, some big oopsies. You know, it's not a big deal though. Here, when asked about the anti-genocide protesters, he said,
Vice President earlier with comments, strong comments related to the vandalism and the protests that we saw. Yeah.
Before we get to that, let's actually talk about the strong comments from Kamala, which is absolutely unacceptable, in my opinion. It is cowardly. It is a complete capitulation to right-wing framing on this issue. You dropped the ball, okay? My expectation is not for her to come out and be like, it's awesome to burn the American flag, okay? You're not supposed to say that. Obviously, no person who wants to win the presidential race is ever going to say that. But you're not supposed to talk about that, dumbass. What is wrong with you? It's like, can you imagine Republicans constantly talking about like their own, like, imagine if Republicans every single day were going out and being like, well, we saw the Patriot Prayer rally that occurred where they were talking about how they want to like murder everyone that isn't sufficiently white. And we condemn them in the strongest terms. Like, they don't do that. They don't do that. They don't take ownership over it at all. Like, who cares? And it's not even a comparison here. I'm not even making like a moral comparison between the Patriot Prayer rallies and Patriot Front and like people who are pro-Palestinian. Okay? It's just so stupid to take ownership over this and to just like finger wag at Republican framing on the issue. This was an absolute dunk. This was an opportunity for her to turn around and be like, Benjamin Netanyahu is Trump in Israel. Benjamin Netanyahu is as unpopular as Trump is in Israel. It seems he's more popular with the Republican Party than he is in his own country. The speech that he delivered to the American Congress was gross and filled to the brim with lies, just like Donald Trump. Okay? Israel is our ally. We are strongly committed to defending Israel, and Benjamin Netanyahu is not the right person for the job, as the Israeli citizens have declared time and time again. So why should we allow him to lie to the American Congress and get a standing ovation from the Republican Party? That's it. Don't talk about the protesters, you dumbass. What's wrong with you? Are you stupid? Is there, like, the instincts that these people have blow my mind. Like, taking ownership over the right-wing framing on the matter, immediately jumping on it and be like, no, that's not us. We love Israel. These guys, the pro-Palestinians they're pro-Hamas, and they're really scary and they're really bad. Like, why? Why are you throwing? Now you just took ownership over it. Now it's like your side is actually, in the eyes of the rest of the country, you have taken ownership over it. You openly mentioned it. You openly mentioned it instead of using this opportunity and hitting this Israel shit on a partisan framing, because there is a perfect opportunity to hit this on a partisan angle. My expectation is not that she comes out, she's like, I'm a one-stater, free Palestine. Okay? But it blows my mind that like she couldn't even do the Nancy Pelosi liberal Zionist line. Okay? Yesterday at Union Station in Washington, D.C., we saw despicable acts by unpatriotic protesters and dangerous hate-filled rhetoric. Like, did a Republican write this? Did Matt Walsh write this for you? Are you stupid? Did you get hit in the head? What are you doing? I condemn any individuals associating with the brutal terrorist organization Hamas, which has vowed to annihilate the state of Israel and kill Jews. Pro-Hamas graffiti and rhetoric is abhorrent, and we must not tolerate it in our nation. I'm running for president to clean up the streets from pro-Hamas graffiti. Thank you. And it's the worst part about this is that Democrats have this instinct, and they do it all the time. And all it does is give more ammunition to the right. It's like when they sign these messaging bills. It's like when you sign these messaging bills, right? But being like, oh, socialism is bad. We voted. Like Nancy Pelosi and the Democratic caucus votes on a messaging bill saying America will never be a socialist nation. And it's like, hey, stupid. They call you a socialist. You're just basically saying this thing that they call us is bad, and we agree it's bad. They're never going to look at that and go, see, they signed a messaging bill that says socialism is bad, so I guess they're not socialists. They're just calling you communists and Marxists and socialists anyway. Stop leaning into this dumb bullshit. Why are you voting on a bill that says you suck shit? Why are you openly calling the right-wing framing on this matter when your party, half of the members in your own goddamn party, had the instinct not to go to this meeting? It's so stupid. Now you just look like Biden 2.0. You had an opportunity to genuinely build on the youth momentum, okay? And now all you've done is cut that. And before people say, oh, Hasan, this is not that significant. Like, this is not that significant. I know. but it's significant in key states that they have to win. If you want to message adequately in situations like this, you cannot capitulate to right-wing framing, okay? You just cut any number of real grassroots momentum. You are cutting grassroots momentum. Hit this from a partisan angle like Nancy Pelosi did, like everyone else did in your goddamn party. Liberals are so bad and do not want to win. I swear to God. It's just so stupid. This is exactly what I expect from Joseph Robinette Biden, okay? Because that's what he believes. He is a right-wing freak. All this does is basically heighten the right-wing framing on the issue, and nobody is going to talk about Benjamin Netanyahu's speech. Nobody's going to talk about how much he lied. Nobody's going to talk about how he is dick-riding Trump into oblivion and desperately expecting him to win the presidency. Like, he went to Mar-a-Lago, man. He's going to his house. Benjamin Netanyahu is flying to Mar-a-Lago to kiss the ring, and these dumb are busy talking about protesters. Are you stupid? You're so dumb. It's absolutely hilarious that people are even debating this with you. How many times a year do people wave Nazi flags? There aren't national news stories on it. It's ignored as fringe. Who cares if you find one guy doing something like this? The vast majority of protest movement has nothing to do with outright open support of Islamist politics. Exactly. I can't believe it. I cannot believe it. 40,000 murdered, majority women and children, with our tax dollars, with our weapons, with our bullets, with our missiles. Okay? Money that could be going to fixing the roads, money that could be going to hardening our infrastructure, money that could be going to combating homelessness. Okay? Money that could be going to education, healthcare, all of the things that these dipshits advocate for. And then the guy getting all that money comes in to U.S. Congress and gets a standing ovation harder than any American president ever does when they deliver speeches in front of the American Congress. And these idiots, instead of hitting this on a partisan front, hitting this from a partisan angle and talking about it and saying, like, Benjamin Netanyahu is very clearly Trump in Israel. That's it. That's a gift. That's a gift to you. Okay? He is more popular, it seems, in the Republican Party than he is in Israel. That's all you need to say. And here you are talking about, like, oh, man, these guys are so scary. The protesters are so scary. The protesters are so scary. And they're probably backed by Iran. I condemn the burning of the American flag. You're the president. The flag is a symbol of our highest ideals as a nation. It represents the promise of America. It should never be desecrated in that way. What are you going to do? Are you going to make it illegal to burn the flag? Is that what you're going to do? You're running on an anti-free speech platform now? Is that what we're doing? What the f? I support the right to peacefully protest, but let's be clear. Anti-Semitism, hate, and violence of any kind have no place in our nation. Oh. Are you backed by Iran, though? Yes, I am. Of course. At the top of the hour, when I serve a 3-minute ad break and the gift subs come rolling in, those are all Iranian mullahs, okay? How many times do I got to reiterate this? The IRGC is actually the ones gifting subs to you at the top of the hour so you avoid the 3-minute ad break. Let's see what Felix had to say about this statement. Harris's inner circle is filled with NGO veterans who excel at using cloying professional activist language. It was one of those things that actually hampered her 2020 campaign. Will be interesting to see how they run defense for this stuff. I bet we'll see some disgusting stuff. It's true. I really hope for her campaign's sake they've learned their lesson about this sort of thing. Yeah. She could have not said anything, honestly. She's killing whatever momentum she started with. Like, I don't think, for me personally, I don't think that, like, if we're being very honest, if we're being radically honest, very serious about the situation, like, Gaza being pro-Palestinian is not like a winning method for you. I'm not saying that at all, okay? Americans are very stupid. They just want to not think about it. That's why Trump's messaging on it is perfect. He's like, yeah, Israel finished the job. You know what I mean? Like, he just takes advantage of the fact that he's not the one in power while this horrifying shit is happening. And that's why he's winning over Biden by like 20 points in terms of who could handle Israel, Palestine better. Okay. But for the Democratic Party, there are a lot of activists. There are a lot of young voters that they desperately need to win. Okay. Especially in 3 key states that do at least care about us significantly enough that they're refusing to vote, especially in Michigan. Okay? That's it. Remember, she's not trying to win our votes. She's trying to win over like the 10,000 people in the suburbs and swing states. Those idiots do care about this shit. Yeah, the problem here is that Kamala Harris, okay, by being a black Indian woman, already is like going to lose out to Trump on some of those moderates. The college-educated whites that Biden was actually cooking Trump over, they might not vote for Kamala. She has to go back to the Obama method and try and activate the youth, okay? She can't run just like Joe Biden did. She can't run in the same way that Joe Biden was running. And it doesn't even matter because the Joe Biden momentum has already was dying. That's the reason why she's the purpose. That is the reason why she's the one who's running for president now. The Joe momentum was over. It was Jover. What is this? Youth loves them PSL. They Tuesday. Shut the up. Okay. The youth loves them PSL candidates though. No, they don't. When I say PSL, people think pumpkin spice latte. What the are you talking about? Stop being so delusional. We're talking about electoral politics, okay? We're not simply just talking about activism. PSL's great, okay? They do great work. But please, shut the up. God damn, you never stop chirping about PSL over and over again. This is like, holy shit. And it's not just there. There's more. From the New York Times, Kamala Harris was like giving assurances to big businesses about how she doesn't think Lena Khan is a good person either. Anyway, we're going to move on from this because I forgot that I have a guest coming on right now for a 30-minute slot here with Ested. I'm going to give him a call right now. All right. Anyway, Kamala Harris is live after meeting with Benjamin Netanyahu. We're going to go to it right now to see what her instincts are. But seeing Benjamin Netanyahu, the demon, smile ear to ear makes me think potentially... Wait, that's it? Are they not going to get together and talk? I thought this was supposed to be a closed door meeting. Oh God, I hope she doesn't reaffirm her commitment to like Israel or whatever. That would be not great. I don't know what that was. It's a private talk. Okay. It's actually cool seeing you guys so excited about Kamala Harris while hating her guts. I mean, I wouldn't say I'm like excited about Kamala Harris. But when changes like this happen, it's so funny the New York Times can print you're a huge spreader of misinfo, then 4 days later have their star reporter on them out. I mean, you have to remember there's like someone in the chat said 8% of journalists are hired by the New York Times. 8% of American journalists. That's a lot of journalists. The thing I'm more excited about is the prospect of the Democratic Party actually doing something that's like competent. Do you see what I'm saying? Because that's like legitimately unique. That is something that you don't see ever. That is something that I don't see ever. So that was what was actually shocking about the last couple of days, like the Democratic Party getting together, responding to voter pressure, and doing something that is like objectively competent. So, you know, that's what I think is like unique in this situation. So that's what I think. Anyway, not just excited, just a tiny bit hopeful. I mean, my excitement comes from, like I said, the Democratic Party being like somewhat remotely competent. And I'm also interested in seeing like which direction they go. Do they follow on this momentum and actually lean on, will they follow on this momentum and lean on like objectively good measures, like maybe a changing of the narrative in terms of like two key issues where they're like pretty weak on? And when I say pretty weak, I don't mean like my own personal opinion in terms of like what I think about Gaza or what I think about immigration. I'm talking like election wise. Like these are weaknesses that the Democratic Party has. I hadn't put together at first that this was an official VP statement and not something her campaign put out. She wouldn't break with Biden in her official role. Shitty but boilerplate Dem, worthy of criticism. Nah, I think it's still silly. She can't do that. Honestly, I think the weakness goes border, economy, Gaza. Well, the reason why I don't actually talk about the economy is because seemingly voters are not putting the economy on her and they're simply keeping it to Biden, which is crazy. There have been polling on the matter and like they actually don't hold Kamala Harris responsible for the economy at all. There's two different reasons for it. One, because like the economy is rebounding. Okay. But the other major reason is because they like kind of blame Biden for it. And that might be because they kept calling it like Bidenflation. You know what I mean? Internal stuff, econ is really weak, at least on messaging effectiveness. Yeah. I mean, that makes sense. But all I was speaking on was like how the economy stink is not transferred to specifically to Kamala Harris in the same way that it was impacting Biden. Kamala debt, am I right? Yeah. Probably because Biden himself called it Bidenomics. Yeah, the worst part about it is that Bidenomics wasn't bad. It's just the worst possible place to do like Bernie style change when like it's your weakest issue. No, it wasn't bad. A lot of the stuff that he was advocating for in terms of Bidenomics was literally like it was boilerplate Bernie. Okay? It wasn't bad. Like Bidenomics was a perfect example of good policy and bad politics. Yeah. He was a bad messenger for it, and it was the wrong moment to do it. Does that make sense? The tariffs on China was terrible. We're not even talking about the tariffs on China. That's new shit. We're talking about when he came out with Bidenomics. When he came out with Bidenomics, it was like infrastructure spending. It was like expanding child tax credits, shit like that. Expanding Medicare, Medicaid access. Like it was literally, I think that was genuinely a Bernie Sanders Jr. coalition, like junior partner in the coalition shit. Yeah, it wasn't bad stuff at all. Anyway, let's get back to this. Antitrust lawsuits, yeah, stuff like that.
In Tel Aviv, CBS's Deborah Patza was there as demonstrators watched Netanyahu's speech.
Like the Hamas is coming shit is like cringe, okay? Make no mistake. I think it's cringe. It's unproductive. It's unhelpful. You have to you cannot be so callous in your defense of Palestinians, right? You're not like going to normalize Hamas. It's just not going to happen, okay? And as an American, when you say stuff like that, other Americans are going to look at you and be like, well, you're a terrorist, okay? But hyper focusing on that is so dumb. Like, why? Why would you ever, as a Democrat, as a progressive, as anyone, ever spend any time on that? Just avoid talking about it. The fuck is wrong with you? Don't ever bring that up. Never. Like, never, ever, ever bring that shit up. There is no reason. There is no reason. And if you have any anger to what I just said about like the Hamas is coming for you stuff, right? If you're ever mad about that, look to the messaging discipline demonstrated by the college protesters as the way to move forward. Okay? They still yelled at them and said they're pro-Hamas, they're pro-Hamas, they're pro-Hamas. And those guys were so on it, and they had like almost no leaks whatsoever. So yeah, there's no reason. Like, if you focus on that, you're a dummy, okay? If you focus on that as a Democrat, you're so dumb. You're the dumbest guy ever. They're just trying to bully you. They're trying to, you know what they're doing? It's like people coming in here today and being like, why have you not talked about Ava Chris Tyson? I have, but it doesn't matter. They didn't see it, so they're thinking like, oh, you haven't, right? And then when you say I have, they immediately move on to the next thing. And they go, oh, well, you haven't sufficiently covered it. It's not real. It's not a real point of concern or a point of consideration. When the right-wing Republicans bring that shit up, they're not doing that because they like actually are fearful that Hamas is coming and that these are Iranian-backed protesters. They're doing that as a talking point to basically say like any and every protest that sees Palestinians as human beings is actually just wrong and bad and violent and scary. Okay? So don't ever lean into that. Don't ever. That's so stupid.
Live on TV.
People here say they're not interested in what Netanyahu has to say. The only thing they want to hear from their prime minister is that there's a deal.
Maya Roman was outside the House chamber in Washington and feels the same. She has a relative who remains a hostage of Hamas.
You have terrible terrorists like Yahya Sinwar finally willing to bring our loved ones back to end this war. You have to take advantage of that. You can't let it slip.
Yeah, like, dude, this is crazy. You know what I mean? Like, you had like Jewish Israeli hostage family members getting arrested by the police, and you're talking about Hamas. Like, what? Are you brain dead? Are you insane? These are people that are like flying from Israel to shit on Benjamin Netanyahu. Like, you have half of the party not attending and boycotting the Netanyahu speech. You have Netanyahu sucking Trump's cock in Mar-a-Lago after the speech is over, and you're going to not use that? Are you brain dead? Like, they're basically telegraphing the right path forward. I'm not expecting Kamala Harris to come out and be like, from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free, okay? I'm not expecting her to be like, long live the Intifada. I'm simply saying, lean in to the gift wrap, perfect delivery mechanism for you to at least change a little bit of the messaging on the issue of Gaza, okay? That's all. Like, there are so many people who are just desperately waiting for Kamala Harris to say something, anything that's different from the dying old man who just keeps going in front of every camera and being like, I'm a Zionist. I love Israel. I mean, I think 40,000 dead children is not enough, Jack. We got to do more. We got to kill more babies in Palestine. Like, just don't do that. Like, just even Nancy Pelosi is aware of like the situation. And then she comes out and she's like, yeah, the real problem here is not Benjamin Netanyahu. It's American protesters exercising their First Amendment rights. Oh, brother.
Between our fingers, there's no time to waste.
In addition to his meeting with President Biden today and Vice President Harris, Netanyahu set to meet with former President Trump tomorrow in Florida. Nate?
Scott, thank you.
Netanyahu is really not popular with Israelis these days. He's also not popular with American Jews, even supporters of Israel. Jerry Nadler.
Yeah, but he's very popular with American Congress, it seems, specifically the Republican Party. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing? All you needed to do was be like, Benjamin Netanyahu is literally more popular with the American Republican Party than he is with Israelis. That's all. That right there is just, that's it. That's all you got to say. That's all you got to say. Like, you are biased because you're Muslim. Ignore the Christians. They are just vibing. Netanyahu's homes in the U.S. but denies Gazans that same right. I mean, no, I'm not biased because I'm Muslim. Okay, that's a ridiculous assessment. Like, Islam has nothing to do with this. Crazy. I'm not even making the point. For the record, I'm not even personally making the point. He said, sorry, bad joke. Okay, everybody calm down. The person was just saying, like, this is what people will say to you. I'm not even making the point of like, I'm not even making the point from my own personal point of view. I'm making the point from, election. Like I've put officially it's election season. I put my libtard hat on. I'm talking about like the Democratic Party's prospects. Okay. There are a lot more people in here than like rugged hardliner leftists. And I'm trying to explain that this is very significant, especially for Michigan and certainly for Minnesota as well. Okay, this is a significant issue. And there are a lot of young people who might be convinced into voting and are just like looking for any reason, okay? Looking for any reason to turn around and be like, yeah, no, I love Kamala Harris, okay? She's great. She's so much different than Joe Biden on this issue. There are so many young people.
Representative Jerry Nadler is like the dean of the Jewish caucus. He said the day before Netanyahu spoke that he's the worst leader of Israel going back 2,000 years in history since the sacking of the Second Temple. So it's not a great moment for Netanyahu. It might be time for him to exit the stage.
Yeah.
Why would he, dude? He's dunking on us. Benjamin Netanyahu's farting on us, dude. Okay? He's farting on America. Why would he exit the stage? As a matter of fact, we just gave him a lifeline. What do you think this visit is? This visit is basically him going back to Israel and being like, oh yeah, you guys don't like me? Well, guess what? Daddy likes me. And it's not even daddy at this point. I'm daddy. That's what he's doing here. What do you think is going on? What do you think this entire visit is? This entire visit is like, I'm here to show the people of Israel why you keep voting for me for the past 30 years, okay? That's what this is. Every clap is another Knesset seat for Likud, okay? Every clap in the American Congress was another vote for Benjamin Netanyahu in Israel, an objectively unpopular politician who is able to literally flex his manipulation of American Congress as a massive benefit. Netanyahu and Harris refrained from giving a statement, prime minister to families. Both Biden and Harris avoided joint statements with Netanyahu and contented themselves, saying that we have a lot to talk about. Before that, prime minister and the president met with the families of the abductees who said they receive hope that something will happen. Do you see Mayor P's brain dead take? Grave concern from the humanitarian catastrophe in Gaza cannot justify defacing federal property with Hamas slogans. Passionate differences are ground for fierce battle and meaningful parts. It's not intimidation and certainly not support for terrorism. Dude, what are you saying? He literally personally recognizes that there's a genocide happening and like, or at least makes inferences to like atrocities occurring. And then he goes, but you know what the real atrocity is? Markers, okay? Markers on federal property. Shut the f up. That doesn't even make sense. That makes sense on no planet does that make sense. So stupid. Anyway, you see Shapiro own himself? Damn, his dad must be spinning circles in his grave. Yeah. Israel only existed for 76 years, but he's the worst Israeli prime minister in 3,000 years. Yeah, I mean, all right, let's see. I gotta pee.
Everybody in? Welcome. Well, welcome back, Mr. Prime Minister. We got a lot to talk about. I think we should get to it, but the floor is yours.
Mr. President, we've known each other for 40 years, and you've known every Israeli Prime Minister for 50 years, from Golda Meir. So from a proud Jewish Zionist to a proud Irish-American Zionist, I want to thank you for 50 years of public service and 50 years of support for the State of Israel. And I look forward to discussing with you today and working with you in the months ahead on the great issues before us.
I look forward to it as well. By the way, that first meeting with Prime Minister Golda Meir, and she had an assistant sitting next to me, a guy named Rabin. That's how far back it goes. I was only 12 then. But anyway, thank you all for being here.
He's an old man. He gets scared with these voices. Stop it. The press has no chill.
This morning, we're learning new details about ongoing...
Saw your tweet about your fitness progress, and I gotta say, that shouldn't have taken 4 years, bro. You could have done that in 4 months. First of all, it wasn't 4 years, it was 3. And secondly, I love you, chatter. Thank you for saying that. As in with, like, steroids. Bless up. This is my favorite aspect of being online, is that, like, you can look at something that is, like, objectively good and still find a way to try and be like, you know what? I'm gonna fucking try to hurt this guy's feelings. You know? I mean, it didn't work, but nah, bro, you did great. I remember when you turned 30 and talking about you felt down. I'm so glad you came around, bro. Yeah. W hater energy. We need more of that. No, we don't. Anyway.
When the tyrants of Tehran, who hang gays from cranes and murder women for not covering their hair, are praising, promoting, and funding you, you have officially become Iran's useful idiots.
Like, it's so gross. As opposed to the people in front of me in this room who are useful idiots and willing participants in my version of what I just described in Tehran. We like to only do that to the Palestinian children, not the Israelis. We make no difference between whether the Palestinian were tying and killing and melting is actually gay or straight. We do not ask them English or Spanish before killing them. We will start tomorrow we will say whoever moves first is gay. And if they move first, we will not kill them with our bombs.
Scott McFarlane is following the latest for us this morning from Capitol Hill. Scott, good morning. What more did Netanyahu have to say in his address to Congress that resonates in Washington?
Hey, Errol, he was really trying to execute a balancing act of getting more support, including more financial support from Congress for the war against Hamas, but also trying to champion this relationship, this historic relationship between the U.S. and Israel.
You got to admit, expressing verbal support for Hamas kind of dumb on the protest part. No, I don't give a shit. No, I'm not having this conversation. I don't care. This is exactly what they did with the Vietnam War, okay? Student protesters, a lot of activists were saying unconditional support to the Viet Cong, okay? And the coverage was exactly the same. Did that actually take away from the moral side of the argument? Did that take away from the morality of the argument at all? Hamas, as it stands currently, in a defensive posture, is in a significantly better moral position than the Israeli occupying forces. Okay? That's it. That's it. They are the people that are defending the Palestinians to the best of their ability. They are not great in terms of domestic affairs. They're far from my favorite group that could potentially rule over the Palestinians democratically. But that's not the equation right now. The equation is that there's a genocide going on, okay? Now, if you were to have this conversation in terms of like how that reflects upon the movement across the board in the Western world, yeah, I mean, I get it. It's just, it's a bad look, sweaty. There's a reason Fatah is universally unpopular amongst the Palestinians. Exactly. How are you supposed to build a bridge with Israelis if you support Hamas? How are you supposed to build a bridge with Israelis if you support the PLO? How are you supposed to build a bridge with the Israelis if you support Palestinians? How are you supposed to build a bridge with the Israelis if you support the UNRWA, which was also declared a terrorist organization? How are you supposed to build a bridge with the Israelis if you support Fatah, but also simultaneously not like the Palestinian Authority, which, you know, they change back and forth on whether or not it's a terror cell or not. Yeah. What you should be asking is like, how are the Israelis supposed to build a bridge with the people that they're murdering? You know? Can you read this? Yes, I read it. I did.
There were protesters, as you mentioned, not just here in Washington, D.C., but in Tel Aviv, and to a degree, right there in the chamber, because there were dozens of Democratic House members and senators who boycotted attending the address. Some of them told me they don't want to take this moment to give Benjamin Netanyahu this platform as he tries to work on political interests of his own back home, as he tries to rally his own conservative base back home. Obviously, there are also concerns about how he is executing this war, the number of civilian deaths, the number of casualties overall. There's a mixed reaction to Congress's plans to continue providing billions of dollars to Israel. And there are deadlines coming, Errol. There's a spending deadline September 30th in which there may be more aid needed or more aid proposed. That's the backdrop upon which Benjamin Netanyahu addressed Congress yesterday.
Back home in Israel, he's seeing protests against his handling of the war as well.
Do people never stop to think how history will look back at this moment with so much disgust? Sometimes I think that's copium. Sometimes I think that's a valid take. Sometimes I think it's copium. We'll just look back at it like the indigenous genocide, a lost chapter in American history. You know, if Israel succeeds, then we look back at it like, oh man, we'll be doing like land acknowledgments for the Palestinians in 100 years. You know, this VC, this hedge fund was built on stolen Palestinian land, that type of shit. If they fail, then yes, we will look back at it like, we will look back at it unkindly. History doesn't even look back at Hitler that negatively anymore. Yeah, that's the other problem. This 5-star American resort was built in the indigenous Palestinian lands. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I don't think Israel will succeed because it seems like Israel is not doing great.